Okay, here are the hot topic questions for review of 8.5. If I do not answer your question here, if you still have a question after I go through these, make sure you email me, and then I can explain to you if you pick out a certain question. But these were the top ones. So question number 9 first. So with that subtraction out in front, I distribute that subtraction. The reason why I do that is so that I know that that's a negative. So I change this to a positive, this to a negative. So right now, I'm going to factor this. This would be n minus 4, and this would be n plus 4. So right now, if I look at my first fraction, I just have n plus 4. So that these two match, I need to multiply this first equation by n minus 4 on both top and bottom. When I do that, so when I multiply on both top and bottom, I'm not really changing the problem at all. I'm just multiplying by 1. So this is like a negative 2, n minus 4, and on bottom, I would have n plus 4, and n minus 4. And then again, I already have that plus. I changed that to a negative, subtraction, I changed to negative, and I have n plus 4 and n minus 4. So now since I have the same denominator, I can combine them together. I'm also going to distribute this negative 2 here. So I have this negative n squared. I have a minus 2n plus 8. Again, that's because I distributed this negative 2 right here. So on bottom I still have my n plus 4 and n minus 4. So a couple of things. I have a restriction. N cannot equal negative 4 because of this, and n cannot equal a positive 4 because of this. Now I'm going to factor out a negative because I just feel like it's easier when I factor if I have my leading coefficient as a positive. And then two numbers that multiply to get negative 8 add together to get positive 2. So if I think multiply to get negative 8, add to get negative 2, before negative 2. So I have negative 1 still. And then if I factor this, it would be plus 4 minus 2. And on bottom I still have my n plus 4 and minus 4. And then these two can cancel each other out. So my final answer here would be the negative 1, n minus 2 over n minus 4. That with this restriction. Question 13. So first I'm going to factor the bottom. So I have x plus 5, x minus 5. Over here I would have x plus 5, x plus 1. So first thing I'm going to look at is what my common denominator is. My common denominator would be x plus 5, x minus 5, and x plus 1. That's what has to be in the bottom before I can add or subtract anything together. Now when I have all three of these, I need to make sure to multiply by the missing part. So for my first equation, on the bottom here, I'm missing the x plus 1. So I have to multiply the top by x plus 1 and the bottom by x plus 1. So I already have that here. So then I would have a 4 times x plus 1 on top, so that I can have my common denominator. Right here, what I'm missing is my x minus 5. So I have to multiply by x minus 5 on both top and bottom. So this would be 6, and then x minus 5. I was adding in between there, I didn't have my addition. So now I can rewrite the bottom be x plus 5, x minus 5, x plus 1. And this first one, I'm going to distribute my 4, so I have 4x plus 1, 4x plus 4. And here I can distribute my 6 plus 6x minus 30. And I can combine my like terms here. So this would be equal to 10x minus 26 over x plus 5, x minus 5, x plus 1. And technically I could factor out a 2 That would give me 5x minus 13. But it's not actually going to be able to simplify anything in top or bottom anymore. So this, along with the fact that x cannot equal negative 5, it cannot equal positive 5, it cannot equal negative 1. So that would be my answer for 13. Nobody asked for question 14, but this was my answer on the answer key, and actually I'm not done yet. So y squared minus 4 is equal to y plus 2 and y minus 2. And then I still have this on bottom, so my answer key was not completely simplified yet. So y still cannot equal 0 because of that. Still can equal negative 2, but these two cancel each other out, leaving me with y minus 2 over 4y. So that should have been my answer for question number 14. Now we get into complex fractions. Now before I do anything with this large division bar right here, I want to make sure to simplify the top and bottom of my division bar. So I only have one fraction on top, so I'm not going to do anything with that. On bottom though, I have to make sure to combine 2 plus 1 over x. So my common denominator would be x. So 1 over x. In this case, this is like over 1. I'm going to multiply by x over again. X. Again, I'm not changing the problem at all. So I have 2x over x plus 1 over x. That's changing this bottom right here, the 2 plus 1x. Again, just change it so that I have a common denominator so I can add them together. So now I have 2x plus 1 over x. Now, I have a fraction divided by a fraction. When you have a fraction divided by a fraction, you can go fraction, and then dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. So now I flip-flop these two, because I'm changing this to division. So actually before I do that, I should say what x cannot equal. This right here would give me x can't equal 2. This was on the bottom, so I have to make sure to include that with my domain restriction. And then I have this right here. If I were to solve that, I would subtract the 1, divide by 2, so it would be negative 1/2. And now this is just multiplying across. So I would have 1 times x is x, and on bottom I have x minus 2 and 2x plus 1. I don't have to simplify that any further. I can leave it just like that because I don't have anything else in common. So that would be my final answer. And then 23 was hands down the most asked for question. So again, here's my division bar right here. So I'm not going to do anything with that until I simplify the top and bottom. The top is already a fraction. I'm not going to touch that yet. The bottom, I have to make sure to have a common denominator. My common denominator would be x plus 3. So I have to multiply the top by x plus 3. I have to multiply the bottom by x plus 3. So I can add these two fractions together. So now since these two have the same bottom, same denominator, I can combine them together. So on top, I'm going to distribute this 2 in. So this would be 2x plus 6. Now this is still adding this 1, so plus 1. And on bottom, since I'm adding, you keep the denominator as is, and you just have the x plus 3. So now if I rewrite this, I'm going to go down here. I have the 5 over x plus 3 divided by, on top of this fraction I have 2x plus 7, because I combine my 6 and my 1, over x plus 3. So now when I look at my domain restrictions, here, this is on the bottom of the fraction, and this one's on the bottom of the fraction. So I'm going to write this over here. So far, I just have x cannot equal negative 3. Now again, if you have a number dividing by a fraction, so right here's a fraction, same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. So now this is what I have. I multiply and I flip that over. This becomes a new restriction. I would subtract the 7, that's it, subtract 7 and divide by 2. So that's my other restriction. Now, because this is multiplying across, these are the same on both top and bottom, these would cancel each other out. This would be 5 over 2x plus 7. So that right there is my final answer. Woo! Again, if there's other questions you have, make sure you email me and I'll be in contact.